Welcome to my theater teacher resource video, How to Create a 3D Set Design Model. This is my video lesson to a product you can find on my Teachers Pay Teachers. I hope this set design example can help you in your classroom. Please support me by subscribing and checking out my links below.
So I am going to show you how to create a 3D set design with this template. So you'll have 3 pages here. This one is the floor, and then you've got 2 walls. So we're going to set the walls to the side for a minute and just focus on this floor. So you're going to flip any of these papers over when you are working on them because you want your design to be the only thing on the page, so the text and the outline and stuff isn't coming through your design. So it's meant to be designed on the back. Now you can kind of see through it if it's on regular paper. If it is not on regular paper and it is on cardstock, I suggest cutting it out first, but I can see through it and I want to be able to go all the way to the ends and be able to do my design. So I'm going to mark where I can see it on the corners, just to kind of help me see, and then it's a little bit rounded in the front. And then I'm gonna go to the back. I'm gonna have my ruler right here. This is a drafting ruler, but any ruler will work. And I am going to mark in the center, right there. And then right here, I am also going to mark in the center. This is just to help keep my lines straight because I'm planning on doing a wood texture. So mine is going to be planks, and this kind of just gives me a little bit of a where things are on the paper, a little template on the back. And then I am using a pencil that is very easy to erase. If you are using a mechanical pencil, I suggest either writing really, really light or grabbing something that's easier to erase. So to start, I want my panels to be the same width. So I'm gonna go from the front, and any spot on the template that is gray on the back of it means you do not need to color on there. And I'm going to measure even spacing. So I'm actually going to take another part of my ruler because I want to have my spacing around here. And at the front, I am going to have it be a little bit off, which I am fine with. There's going to be a half one because it's a circle anyway. And I'm just going to mark evenly coming down here so that my flooring stays evenly spaced. I'm doing it a little darker than I normally would just because I want you to be able to see it. And then I'm going to come through here and I'm going to make sure that I am lined up, and I'm going to do some quick lines right here. Again, mine, I want to have a wood floor. If you're worried it's not going to be very straight, 2 things you can do is use a clear ruler, or you can try to go this way. It's easier for left-handed people so they can see where their lines were. I guess I could have gone this way too. It's going to be like an old-timey looking wood floor, so I'm not super worried if something is a little bit off. And then I've talked with my students about how to draw texture. So if you're not sure how to draw textured things, I am not an expert. I am just a trauma teacher, but I have an entire playlist on my YouTube channel. Let's Get Dramatic is probably where you're watching this video. This video is included in that playlist, and I've got a lot of artists linked in there of how they do texture and draw flooring, or walls, or all types of things, chairs and stuff. And then I'm going to just start at this part, and I'm going to have my wood flooring. I'm not going to measure my wood floor because I want it to be old time kind of looking, but I'm just going to kind of do light lines, and I want it to be kind of like brick. I want it to be kind of off center, and then I'm going to texture my individual pieces of wood based on that. So I'm going to go ahead and work with this a little bit. Then I will get some texture in here, really light. I am going to go over this with colored pencil also, and I'm going to do that with each of these, and I'll also probably make the ends look a little bit more worn, like there's some space and gapping in them. right there and kind of go around it darker, since I'm going to actually be using these lines for this wood. But if you go light and then go darker, it's always easier if you need to erase something. So, all right, I'm going to work on that. Actually, before I cut away and do this, one thing that is possible if your teachers are good with it is I sometimes allow my students to print a template. That's what I'm going to actually be using instead of drawing this entire thing out. So I found this on Canva, and then I am going to cut that out to be my flooring, and I'm going to color it from there. So I'm going to meet you back once that part is colored. All right, so here is the floor, and here is the look that I was going for. So now that I've got that colored and everything with my colored pencils, I'm going to cut it from the paper. So you'll see there's no back on this part because you just leave it as long as it will go so it adheres a little bit better. And then you just cut it out along these lines. And I try to cut the line off just because I think it looks nicer, but it doesn't really matter because it's the bottom of your project anyway. All right, so on this, you'll see I did it in light gray so that when you're coloring on it, it's not going to show through. But this is stage right side when flipped over, stage left side when flipped over. So that means when I have my flooring right here, over here is stage right side because the actors are looking at the audience. This is stage left side, and that's to help you know where to glue your walls also. And then this one says fold back, so you fold it backwards. And then it says to put glue on the back side, but we're not gonna do that yet because we need the walls done. So for both walls, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm going to take these and I'm going to draw on the back of them. I'm just going to show you, again, my finished product right here. I'm gonna have a wallpaper at the top, and along the bottom, I'm going to do painted wall with trim. So for this, for my wallpaper part, I found a wallpaper print stamp that I liked. So you'll see mine's really symmetrical. You can do that again by that same dot method that I showed you, but it won't be quite as perfect as if you find it with a stamp or online or something like that and print it out. So I'm just gonna show you that, and then I will cut those out. All right, so here are my walls with the stamp, and then I colored over it and the bottom wall. Remember, I didn't color anything down here on this tab on purpose because it's going to be folded with glue on it, so you don't want anything right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut these out too. Then we'll come back. So now that I have these cut out, I'm going to show you how to fold all of these. So this one, we already folded it up. And then right here it says, fold back, bottom left side stage. So you'll be able to see, like, if you don't remember your stage directions, because sometimes when we're creating, it's hard to, when we can't see it, to remember it. I did write it on this side right here. And, well, not in frame, there. I did write it on this side right here, fold back, bottom left side, and then here it is, the bottom left side. So these two go together. And then I just kind of, and then lay that out, and then this one says the bottom right side, and that would lay out right here. So I'm going to fold this before I glue anything, just so that my lines are crisp. And one thing I like to do if my lines are not folding very easily, I take my ruler and go where that is, and it says to fold it back. So I just push along that side so that it's a nice solid crisp line, and then I fold it in. Sometimes you need that, sometimes you don't. Now there is an extra line right here that says fold after everything is glued together to fold the stage. So if you're going to put this in a book, my class, we put them in composition books right here. So to use the composition book, we fold it so that it fits inside of the pages. I will show you how to do that. If you are not using it in a composition book and you don't have to fold it flat, you do not need to fold that line, but sometimes when you're taking it home, putting it in backpacks and stuff, it's easier. So I'm not going to fold that one quite yet. Oh, and it said to fold back, and I folded it forward. because I was trying to show you the directions, my bad. Okay, so then it will look like this, and I'm going to do that same thing on this side. Fold back and fold back. Okay, so you can kind of see where it's coming together. So right here, this goes underneath, and then it will go in front of this side right here. That way it makes a nice corner because it's glued onto the back of that side and the bottom of this side. And then right here, you'll see this one's blank and doesn't have any glue this on, but this one has that gray spot, and you're gonna glue that so that it folds right there. This will go in front of that, and then it gets glued like this so that it all comes together. So I'm going to first take, where did I put my glue? There we go. Take the glue, and I'm going to put it right here, covering that whole section, and not right here. Going to just glue that side on. Make sure that this line right here is at the center where that line right there is, and then put this part in front. You'll see it's kind of angled, so this piece goes behind it, and you just line that up and glue that down. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this side over here. Cover that with glue. And slide that under stage right from front to back, and make sure that this line right here is centered with my fold mark. So I push that all down really good, and then I will put some glue right here on this gray portion. And if you go a little further than it says, that's fine, because sometimes they fold a little tighter, just depending on your fold lines, and sometimes a little looser, and the glue will just dry. You line it up so that the back wall is not the one with glue on it, the front wall is, and then you push them both down towards the bottom. That's kind of hard to do like this. Okay, so that they're down towards the bottom, and they line up correctly. So I also have a line right here. You don't want it to go this way, or it just won't fold quite correctly. So I'm going to push it down, even though you can't see, to make sure it's all lined up. There we go. Then I'm going to do that part. So just to finish it off so that's not wobbly in the middle. This one says to put glue on the back part. So I'm going to put glue right here. And instead of folding this up, I'm actually going to just rotate my stage so that I can push this down to the corner and make sure these are down there. And then I'm just going to fold that back and push down to make sure that everything is sealed so that I can put a little pressure on the glue. So there is the base of my 3D set. You can see why you would want to color all of this before you try to glue it together, because coloring it while it's here is going to be pretty impossible. And then to continue with this, I'm going to show you how it looks if you need to fold it flat. So we're going to push in at this corner spot right there and just kind of fold it, 2 fingers on the outside edges and 1 in the middle to help fold it, and your other finger is just up here in the middle of that line. All right, so my camera cut off, but I'm going to show you again. So if you put your 2 fingers, middle finger and thumb, on the outside of these corners and push in with your index finger, you can kind of run your other hand and pinch it up this side and create a little bit of a fold. And then you do the same thing right over here. So I've pinched it between them, and then I just kind of make sure that I am in that center and coming to the edge, and that it's all straight. Then once I get a little bit of a fold on there, I can just push down and it will fold. So for my students, we put this in one of our interactive notebooks for tech so that they can have it as a reference later on. So it says glue right here, so they would glue it right there. Put the back of it directly in the spine and make sure it's centered so it doesn't fold out. And then I don't have them glue it up here because I want to be able to use that page for notes before we use this, but so they will have it like this, glued into their book, but you can see that those lines kind of do get in the way. And then I am going to grab some paper and I'm going to make a rug, a window, some curtains, doors, and bookshelves and things, and glue them in to this 3D set. Or if it's a 3D piece like a table or a chair that we need to remove when we're doing the show, then I would not glue it in. I would make it so that we could move it to indicate different rooms or different scenes. And the 3D pieces, if they are in an interactive notebook like ours is, you're going to want to be able to remove those and put them to the side so that they don't get squished in here. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I am going to show you what my different set pieces look like. I started putting together my stage with its set dressings and different pieces on. I have a bunch of them down here, and then I'm going to show you kind of how I construct this a little bit. So I did already glue my doors on before I was thinking about that, but I just cut them out first, and then I put a lot of glue along the outside edge and glued them on. If I was going to do this and not put it in a composition book where it folded, I would cut out inside of these doors right here. But because I don't want it to catch every time I close and open the book, I have left the backing intact. So it just depends on what you prefer to do. And then I have a few simple pieces. So for example, this rug is just going to go right over here or wherever I want to put it. I am going to glue it on the floor because I'm only creating one scene for the set design, but if I was going to be creating a set design that this room becomes different rooms, I would most likely get this rug and just leave it as a piece of paper and then remove it for the next scene that we want to do the set dressing for. And you want to do that with all of the little pieces that you put together. So I've got some pictures and picture frames. I have a window. This one I would normally glue on 100% because this would stay and be built or painted right onto this back wall as I go. And then I'm going to show you a couple of little extra things once I get that in. So to do the window, I did the curtains separate, and then I did the window because I like the look of it going and these kind of flapping around. So I'm going to glue the whole window down, and I'm gonna get an extra piece of paper right over here so that my glue does not get all over the place. And I'll set that right here. So I'm just gonna go out from the center so that I can get all the corners and edges, especially with pieces of paper that have little extra pieces. You want to kind of do that. And then I'm going to put this on this side right here because my set design that I've previously done has a bookshelf that goes right over here. So there is that. And then this piece that is the curtains, since I want it to kind of look 3D-ish, I am going to just glue the top right there. And then I'm going to line it up and push down right here. One other thing I love to use when I'm building a bigger 3D set or when I'm doing this that won't go into a book is I could use real fabric for these curtains and have done that before, where you can get little scraps. People a lot of times have little scraps of fabric that they will give, especially crafters and grandparents, things like that. So I put that right there. And then I am not going to glue my rug down until I have the table that I want it to be on and possibly the chairs so that I can kind of position that exactly where I'd want it to go. So right here, I want to make a mirror, and I did want it to look reflective, so I'm going to take a little hack where you take this and you put the tinfoil on it where it needs to go. So I'm going to take a minute to cut this tinfoil out, and I'll be right back. So how I cut this out is I just traced this on a piece of paper and I glued it on and then cut out the tinfoil so I had the exact size that I wanted. And then I'm going to glue this paper right there to this frame so that it's reflective and adds just a little bit of fun to my design right there. And then I will be putting that in the mirror right back, that little mirror right back here. And then on the other side, on this side, I'm planning on doing the family portraits. I have a couple printed sideways, a couple printed that way, so that I can kind of mix and match and make it look really fun. So we're gonna glue that on. Now I already have a plot design that I'm looking at for this, so I know I don't want it centered because I have a bookshelf that's going to be going right here. So I want it just a little closer to the door, right there. That is one of the things that's great about having a little plot design so that it's easier to figure out. And then my family pictures. So my imagination for this set when I did this is that the couple that lives here has 2 children, and each of them have their own children, and then they have pictures of their parents too. So I've got grandparent pictures to put on the wall, and a couple little pictures of 2 different families, so it's like their kids' families right here. And you want to be specific. Honestly, the more specific you are, the more fun it is also to kind of do this. And then in my plot design, I saw that I liked the look of it being lined up with the side right here instead of centered, and then doing that same thing on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for all 4. So I'm lining this one up with that bottom part. And I did look at a bunch of different arrangements of this, even from my plot. I also arranged it on the paper in front of me before I decided exactly which one I wanted to do, just in case there was a better choice. But I liked it looking like that. So far, this is what I've got. And then I want to create a bookshelf. When you're creating a bookshelf, I personally just like to do it from a brown piece of cardboard. So I cut out a slab, I measured this and cut out a slab that is the exact width that I wanted. And then on my design, I looked at how deep my design was and how deep the shelves needed to be. So I'm going to just do a quick mark, and not an eraser, there we go, this for how many shelves, and I had 4 shelves. Now once I write this out and I have 4 shelves, I am going to take a quick look and see the height, or sorry, the width, and make sure that I didn't need to make that a little bit smaller, but actually I really like that size right there. And then I did have the shelves be as deep as they are high, so I can also see how high my bookshelf is going to go right here. And I actually think I would prefer an additional shelf coming up. So I am going to create that. That is one of the reasons that we do this 3D model, is so that we can see if the rest of our designs look good and make sense. And then because I want that many shelves, I do need a bottom shelf. So I'm gonna go 1 more, and then I will flip this over, put the cap on my glue so it doesn't dry out, there we go. And I'm going to do this exact same thing on the way back down. And then I will cut out, oops, that was loud, sorry, okay. And then I will cut out these pieces right along there. So. All right, and then since my shelves are exactly this exact same amount width as they are up, I'm just going to use a piece of shelf to measure that. And then I will hot glue these shelves on right here. And this was still measured to be the same width as my shelf, so I had that whole piece. So I will just build that up right now. And then after I'm done with that, I will take some longer pieces of the cardboard that I saved, and I will put it the same width up so that it will be a bookshelf. And I will go ahead and glue that together and show you in just a second. So I have created my bookshelf. As I did it, I did test the height and make sure it was what I wanted. And then this is the wrap that I have for the look of the color that I want. It's a little bit redder to match the red tones over here in this wood. So when I wrapped it, I glued it on this side, and now I'm wrapping it. And as I wrap it, I've been cutting right here so that it will fold and wrap where I want it to wrap. So you don't want to cut off these sections. You want to cut them on the corner, just like they would be right there. And then you can see that when I wrap it, I can take this and then put this down and fold that over to make it wrapped nicely. I kind of wish I would have done this before I glued the sides on so that I could have the sides and stuff wrapped too, but that's okay, so that you can see everything kind of going together. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you can see I even accidentally cut this one a little short, but when I wrap it, it's not gonna matter. I did wrap this. Sorry, I've got so many little pieces everywhere, but that's what crafting is. So then I'm going to put it on the cardboard. If you're using hot glue, I always suggest putting it on the cardboard and not on the paper. And then instead of pushing down with your finger, I always have an extra piece of cardboard. This way I just don't get burnt and it leaves it nice and flat. So I'll put this one down. And you just need a little bit with the hot glue if it's paper, because it just kind of flattens it and absorbs in. So you see how I am not getting burnt on that. And then I'm going to do it right here and a little bit in the corners. Then I will just fold this over so that it lines up with that side and push it down with my cardboard. I always suggest using a second piece of cardboard. And then with these little pieces that are kind of flapped open, paper to paper, it always works really good for me to use just a little bit of glue stick to fold that down. Glue stick does stick to cardboard also, but glue stick won't stick cardboard to cardboard because it's too thick. It will stick paper to cardboard. And then I will do that on this side too. So on this side, I put the glue down, and I wish I would have done this to the other sides because it looks so much nicer, but you can see that I've got the lip right here of it. I put the glue under there and I push down and wrap it. I do it quickly because it is still hot, but you can see how much nicer that top part looks than this part, so I kind of wish I would have done that on the whole thing, but I didn't, so that's all right. And then you can see that on my set design, I can put this right here. Now, because this one will go in my notebook and needs to fold, I'm not going to leave it there. I will be able to take it out, because if you make really nice pieces, one thing you can do is you can use it from 3D design to 3D design. I could take this and paint it white if I wanted to, or do a different wrap, or just leave it as it is, depending on the amount of time I've got. And then, okay, so I am taking my extra piece that I have, and I'm gonna wrap the entire thing. I really did like the look of it better. So I cut it to be the width, and then I am just putting some hot glue in the corners really of this so that it gets stuck down really good. And then I am just bending them over, making sure I keep my paper pretty straight. There's a little bit of wrinkles, but I want it to be tight, and the glue will suck it back to the cardboard a little bit better. And then once I get those, I'm just taking my, where is it? Oh, taking my piece of cardboard and just making sure it gets into those. And I'm going to keep going down to the other pieces. Be careful not to hot glue your fingers. If you're doing this, I will be making it look like this more, and then I'll probably cut out some little pieces for right there, but not right now. I'm gonna set this aside and finish that later so I can show you how I do my tabletop. Okay, so we can move along to the tabletop. So I did a circle table. These are the hardest to do, so I wanted to kind of show you how to do that because the square one is the same kind of thing as doing this. So I've got this and I glued it to this piece of cardboard, but the hard part of this is the legs. So you figure out how tall you want the legs. And generally what I do, instead of trying to figure out how tall I want them from just nothing, I actually go online and look at how tall the tables are that I would like to make, and then I just reduce it in scale size for this. And then you're gonna cut 2 separate pieces of the same look, and then do the legs. So my legs are gonna come down like this and then just straight up in the middle. So I'll do that on each of these sides. There we go. Same with this one. Kind of coming down and around, straight up. And the same thing. Now, I want this to look like the circle ones do, where the legs come down in the middle and kind of crisscross each other. So what I'm going to do is cut the middle of this guy right here. And then this one I want to fit over that, so I'm going to cut it from the bottom up so that they fit together like this. There we go. Like this. So I will hot glue, oh, it's trying to focus on too many things. There we go. So I will hot glue these pieces like this, and then I will hot glue it to the bottom of my tabletop. So that's how you do things that are kind of interwoven: chairs, tables, the legs that cross like that. All right, so I have my bookshelf that I finished, and then here is the table with the legs that sits right here. And then I am now building the couch or the chair. So when you are wanting to do the curved part, I use either a colored pencil or a marker, depending on how much I want the curved part to curve. Because if you don't, you'll get a lot more pieces that are kind of like this, where it is just got a little bit of a point, which won't bother me for this one because I'm going to cover it in fabric. But what I did was I take it, and you want to press it and wrap it around and just kind of, oh, so there we go, my shadow was there. Just kind of roll it, and that will break down these pieces so that it will be curved like that. And then I had done that. I just kind of envisioned the front of the couch, and I just did it based off of, actually I looked at my couch and I just did it based off of my couch, and I went up and around, and I made sure that the height was a good height for my set. And then once I had it all, it was literally just like this, and then I had the seat right here, and I kept going. I formed it the way I wanted it to form, and then I took hot glue and put it all around the edge right here, and then I just stuck it down to this piece of cardboard, and then I'm going to take my scissors and cut around that. And I'm not gonna have to be too careful because I am covering mine with a little bit of fabric, and this is going to be the front of the couch. Might need to get my better crafting scissors out. Oh, nope, we're doing okay. All right. Sorry, it's getting later and later, so the shadows are getting bigger. And then once I have that, I can kind of pull that down and get that piece off. There we go. And then there is the front of my couch. And I will rearrange this. This one's a lot bigger than this side, so I will fix that and kind of readjust that before I put my fabric on. And then I'm going to get a piece of fabric that's bigger, or sorry, a piece of cardboard that's bigger, and I want it to sit right here, and then I'm gonna have this part right here, I want to go straight up and then curve back. First, I'm going to glue the back of this onto right here, and then I will be back. So I wanted the backing to come up from the center of these, so I just glued it on a straight thing right here. And I also did trim down this part and any of the little extra pieces. And then I'm gonna set it here. And it's an oversized chair, so that is going to be good for it. And then I think I'm going to have it come up right here because we want it to be very oversized, even though I do think I might be making it a little bit bigger because of the bottom. So I'm going to take my pencil and start pushing it towards the pencil and bending it around this piece. I do like to roll it a little further than it would really need to be, just because I feel like it softens the lines a bit. And then I will glue it back down. Now, if I wanted a thin chair, I could just cut it off right at the top. I could also add a whole box right here onto that, but the chair that I have that I'm trying to replicate has a big puffy part up here, but then it kind of comes down in the back because it reclines. And so I'm just going to make it like this and cut that part off. And then, so I'm gonna glue this right here to that. Okay, so I've glued my chair right here, and I was really lucky. I am doing a light blue velvety chair, and I have this fabric. It's not the exact fabric that I was going to use, but it is really close to the fabric I'm going to use. If you are creating a professional set piece and you already have the fabrics and things picked out, you would use those so that the light designer can shine light on it and see how the actual fabrics react. But I'm going to use this and cover it, and then I will show you what it looks like. Okay, so I cleaned up my workspace a little so it was easier to see. When you upholster your cardboard piece, you want to start in the center point. So I started right here at the back bottom, and then I put a ton of hot glue and pushed it down to really make it so I could pull against it. The thing with upholstery, with regular upholstery or with little pieces like this, it is the tension that you want. So once that was done, I pulled the tension down right here and I glued this part, and then I did this back part a little bit too. It's not completely done. I thought I was recording it and I wasn't. So I'm going to go ahead and put hot glue along here, and then I'm going to hold my piece carefully and pull it away from the center. That's why you want to make sure the center is so glued down, and you just kind of pull it and keep that tension. And then I'm going to kind of get it tacky with the hot glue and then pull it down from there also to give me a good solid piece. Then I'll use the cardboard to really push that in. And then you can see how the tension is really what makes the piece. So after you get the full center of the piece done, you can start working with the edges. Now I like to pull my front and do my front first so that it looks good from the front. It looks the best from the front. So I'm going to pull those in, and then you take these pieces down, and you see that folds right there. So then I'm going to glue that down and together. Now, because there's so much extra fabric right here, I am going to actually trim probably this whole square off. Let's hurry and do that. So I'm going to trim this part off. And I'm not going to go all the way to where it would pull over, but I'm going to trim this square off too. So then I will glue that part down, glue that part down in the back, fold this over and pinch it so that the like raw edge doesn't show, and I will pull that part down too, and my pieces will look like this. And I'll do that on the front and then the back. All right, so here is my little chair that will go on here. So let me show you the pieces I have. These pieces, I've got the reflective part, the doors, and then the bookshelf is all wrapped now and goes right there. I also am going to put some little cardboard books in it later, but that is just wrapping paper on a piece of cardboard and then labeling it, making it look like a book. So I'm not going to show you that because I'm sure you can do that. And I've got my curtains that move, my pictures of family over here, the other door that opens and closes. Again, I did keep the backing on these ones for my book. And then I will put the rug right there. So this is like my plot view. I did decide to keep it where I had it before. And then I've got my little circle table right there in the center of the rug. And my new little chair right here. So I did make the chair just a little bit bigger because it's bigger than I would want the door to be. So I would note that on the little paperwork. And if it was professional, I would take it apart and fix it. But this is just my Tech 1 project. And then I did seal the end. So I pulled everything, the back and center down like I showed you. Then I cut these and pulled them down so there wasn't that much fabric underneath. And then I just cut along the bottom and just made sure it was glued so I wouldn't get it to fray. And I will put that right there. So here is my 3D set design from both angles. And remember, the doors and stuff don't open because I want to be able to take it down. I'll move these. I will glue the rug where it goes now that I know where it goes. And then I can collapse it. Not with one hand very well, but I can collapse it for my interactive notebook or have it pop up and put the pieces back on. In my class, after we make nice pieces like these ones, we actually put them in a bucket for other people to be able to use, but it just depends on what you and your class does. All right, I hope that helps and teaches you how to create this 3D pop-up set design. Please help support me by checking out the link to my growing technical theater Teachers Pay Teachers shop. Teachers, please like and share so I can continue making content.